This is the brand new Active 3.0, and it is their first entry into the full-blown commercial market. This thing is listed at 3 gallons per minute, and it's coming in at an absolutely fantastic, it's a lot of money, but for this type of pressure washer, they have this thing listed at $800 for the unit only. If we look at competition with the AR or the Kranzle, those things are over $1,000, like well over it, and the only one that's advertising the 3 gallons per minute too is the new AR 635, which is about $1,245. So what's up, guys? It's me from the future again. Just got done reviewing this thing. I think it's an absolute amazing machine at actually a really good value, especially when you compare it to that specific marketplace of the really high GPM pressure washers. I think it's an absolute home run. There are a couple of issues that I have with it, so stay tuned. We'll touch on those. Let's get into it. Now, we all love a good pressure washer because it helps us keep our cars clean. Now, speaking of keeping your car clean, I want to thank today's sponsor, 3W Floor Mats. I first installed my 3W floor mats in my Ram Rebel about 6 months ago, and they've been nothing but phenomenal. Now, this truck actually came with rubber mats right from the factory, but they just got really dirty over time. The rubber seemed a little bit too soft. It would absorb a lot of dirt and scratch pretty easily as well. So when I upgraded to the 3W floor mats, I no longer had that issue. These mats are made from Thorax TPE and are engineered for the rugged demands of pickup trucks and everything else. They're water resistant and immune to chemicals and oils. This makes them super easy to clean. I basically just have to pull them out, dust off the area. I like to foam on a little bit of soap, and then I rinse them away and let them dry. Now, I always struggled deciding between either carpeted floor mats or the rubber floor mats. The carpet just feels a little bit more premium to me, but with these dual layer options that they have, you no longer have that issue. 3W Floor Mats has introduced the first integrated dual layer design where you get a heavy duty TPE base paired with a detachable premium carpet top, and it looks amazing, feels amazing. These mats are laser cut for a perfect fit, and they also use an innovative Viger mold technology, which is extremely durable and withstands wear and tear, maintaining the shape and quality over time. So head on over to 3wliners.com. I'll put the link down in the description and use my special code for a special discount. Thank you so much to 3W for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the Active 3.0. All right, guys, so we've got this thing all unboxed, and here's what it comes with. Again, it's unit only, but they give you some accessories that are needed. Also, you have your little product registration card, and it does state on here, congratulations on the purchase of your new Active pressure washer. This pressure washer comes with a 2-year residential and 1-year commercial warranty. So before we cover the few accessories that this comes with, again, this is a unit only, but it does come with nozzles and things like that. Real quick, you do want to change out the oil plug, which is right on top. It's a nice red oil plug, but that is just for shipping. And you want to replace it with this nice one that they give you, which is a vented plug, which you need for the unit. Number one thing that I found that is a little bit annoying is when you're disassembling this thing, you need a 10mm to remove the bolts from the bottom of the unit. No big deal. Then in order to remove the oil plug, right, the one for storage, it took, I can't even remember off the top of my head, a very large size socket. And then in order to put the new vented oil plug in, it was another different size. So again, not a big deal, not the end of the world at all, but you do need 3 different sockets to get this thing set up for the initial use. So obviously you get the unit itself, again, at a pretty amazing price for the specs that this thing are listed at of $800. And I believe that's shipped, I'm not 100% sure, but also again, if you use my code, I'mJoshV10 for the next 2 weeks after the launch, they're gonna be giving you 10% off of this thing. So that brings it down to like $720, which is an insane deal, because the direct competitor to this is the AR 635 with the 3.0 GPM rating. And that one's coming in at $1,250, I believe, right around there, $1,245, or their AR 630, which is also another phenomenal unit, but the new one's coming in at $945, I believe. So this thing, as long as it lives up to the hype on the performance, is an absolute steal if that's what you're needing. Now, again, you have the unit itself, really beautiful design, I have to say. Big pump head here. It's still an axial pump. They're utilizing their 5-piston pump technology. You have your water inlet here, your water outlet here. I'm assuming, like their other units now, this should be an M22/14 connection, but we'll confirm that at some point. You have your power on-off switch right on the front here. Again, the unit is it's absolutely beautiful. Handle up top, your oil fill, all that good stuff. Your total stop is still exposed. Again, that's pretty standard with a lot of these pressure washers. Especially once it's mounted, it's no big deal at all. And with the weight of this thing coming in at that 54 pounds, you're gonna wanna wall mount this. Additionally though, you do get 4 nozzles, and they're all listed as 6.3 for the orifice size, which is very large. I'm assuming this thing's gonna absolutely blast a ton of water out at the same time, right? We do also get a little nozzle holder that you can just strap on somewhere, I guess. Yeah, and then you additionally you get a foam cannon orifice, because most foam cannons are going to come with an orifice that's not big enough to handle the amount of flow that's coming through this thing. So they give you, I believe it's a 1.65, yes, 1.65 orifice. You get the 4 bolts. These were attached to it with the wood plate on the bottom, and I'm hoping these will work to install it on the active wall mount. And then we also get a little probe here just to help clear out your nozzles if they ever get plugged up. And then we get our power cord, and it's nice actually. So again, if you're mounting this outside, this is the kind where you can plug it in to like a covered outlet. This will still hang out and you're good to go. However, one thing I'm gonna nitpick here, just my personal preference, and I get it, this is a 20 amp machine, so you need to run this on 20 amps, on a 20 amp breaker, and pretty much dedicated 20 amp breaker, probably, because if you run anything else on it, this will probably trip it in conjunction with those. But they did include a NEMA 20 plug. And that's a bummer for me, because right here at my outlet, it's a 20 amp, but it's a standard NEMA 15. So it's a regular plug style. So I'm gonna have to go change that out before I can actually use this thing. I understand the reasoning behind it. I understand that the competition, which is the AR 635, does this as well. So it's really no fault on them at all. It's just an annoyance to me personally. All right, guys, so I'm trying to install this onto the wall mount, and there's a couple of things to note. It's actually kind of difficult to line up because it's so heavy, and you do have to have it a bit forward. So you have to connect the water pickup to it, or the attachment leading to your pressure washer hose first, and then maneuver it up, because it has to come all the way forward for it to line up for the bolts. And so there's not a lot of play for the jumper hose here. Another thing is the bolts that it came with, right? I was hoping would work on this, but they are too long. So this one's screwed in all the way, and you can see it's sitting out that much. So that is also a bit of a bummer. I was hoping that I could use these. Now, to be fair, I don't remember if they actually included additional bolts with the wall mount shelf. I don't remember if they did or not, but since if they did, I don't have them anymore, and so I'm gonna have to source my own bolts for this. So with this thing set up, I need to get it plugged in, and I wanna be able to test the amps. Now, I have an amp reader there, but it doesn't have the NEMA 20 style plug. And neither is that outlet. So instead, we go into my shipping room, because we have a NEMA 20 here. Okay, so you can see vertical and horizontal like that, so it's NEMA 20. I have to use a clamp meter, which is around the wire there to get it reading. I'm just gonna hit the reset to fire this thing. There you go. But I don't know if you can hear that. It's humming. I'm here. I'm gonna take my microphone. Hopefully you guys can hear that. It is humming, and I don't know if it's just because of the way I have this whole thing set up right now or what, but just something to note. However, we are green lit. Everything looks good to go there. So I'm not too concerned with that. I'll keep an eye just in case. It may be that the ground is sitting off, I know this isn't like probably the safest thing, but I do want to get a good amp reading, so that's what we're doing. All right, guys, so we have this unit all set up. Now, it is not bolted in. Like I said, I don't have the correct size bolts for that, so it's just sitting on here. But I do have everything set up. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the water on. We'll get water pumping through this thing. Now, right off the bat, guys, Active does not recommend using any other hose than a steel braided hose. They sell their own, I think in a 50, 75, and 100-foot variant, and they're 5/16 diameter. They're great hoses. This is my Quiverflex hose. This is not steel braided. So I will switch this out and test with a steel braided hose as well. But I just want to see if this has any issues with it. Again, super commercial machine. I know that the ARs can run on this hose, so just want to check that out and see what we got going. All right, now like with any unit, we want to go ahead and let the air pressure out of the system. So we're going to go ahead and just pull the trigger, let the water pump through for a little bit. Now, as I test this thing, guys, we're going to be testing PSI. We will test the GPM, obviously, and we're going to be looking at the amps. You see that spit? That spit means that there was air in the line. We don't want any air in the line. We don't want any issues with that. So that's why we do this. Now, real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on. Now my lights did flash real quick, but I gotta say this thing's insanely quiet. And we are struggling a little bit for the water. Here we go. Wow, geez. Looks like once it catches up, this thing, again, I know it's rated at 3 gallons per minute, but. Okay, total stop. If you guys, I'll zoom in on this. Look at how this thing shifts when I let go. A lot of power going through this thing. All right, so to start the test off, I'm gonna go ahead and use the 40-degree nozzle. Again, they're all listed as the same orifice size of the 6.3, so we should be fine there. Right off the bat, we're gonna test the amps. Now, again, over time, with all these pressure washers, over time, once they break in a little bit more, the oil starts going through the whole system and all that good stuff. We get a little more PSI, a little more GPM, and the amps typically drop a little bit. So, but I wanna get a good view of what the amps are doing currently right off the bat. 17.6 amps it looks like, guys, so we're totally safe on a 20 amp breaker. 17.6 amps. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and button this back up so we can be safe. All right, guys, so again, 17.6 or whatever amps, and that's at initial load. So over time, as it starts to run more efficiently, that's even gonna drop. So 20 amp breaker, absolutely, completely safe. Even if you have something like a little light, it'd probably even be fine running on that. But let's go ahead and test the PSI now. Now, just at load, obviously the unit's off. We're at 461 PSI. Again, I'll run a steel braided on this as well to see if there's any difference. But, and this, again, this is a 50-foot hose. All right, so here's the PSI. Again, the 40-degree nozzle in, here we go. .846 PSI. I have to say, it does not feel like 846 PSI because there's so much water flow coming through. It has a lot of kickback, like a lot. So all that seems good. Real quick, I'll throw in a couple of other nozzles just to make sure we're getting the exact same numbers because we should be. Okay, that one came in at 870, but essentially the same thing. There's just a little variance in the nozzle that it's impossible to not do really, but that's essentially the same. 15 degree. .861, and then the 0 degree is actually probably the most accurate to what this listing is, 6.3, because they don't have to adjust the angle. So this is a true 6.3. Let's see. .878, so slightly more there. Again, when you start adding in the angles, there's a slight discrepancy. Usually for a 6.3, you use a pin gauge set for that. It's for a circle. And then when you start widening that out, it gets a little bit convoluted. But right there, they're all exactly the same, essentially. All right, guys, now the moment of truth. The thing we've all been waiting to see really is, again, this is the whole purpose of this pressure washer is really getting to that crazy amount of flow, right? Again, I find pros and cons to running something with this much flow. For me, as a mobile detailer, I have limited amount of water, so I don't want to blast through it too fast. On the other side of that, you may be thinking, okay, yeah, that's true, but you also want to, if you're doing it that way, if you have that much flow, you're also more efficient, so you're not running as long, which is a fair point. Another thing to note, though, is I have a DI set up here. As I fill this up, I will test the water in addition, because usually these water filters filter the water down at about 2.2 gallons per minute or something like that. And if it goes above that, it doesn't have the dwell time in the filters to actually make it spot free. Caveat to that is if your area has, say, 50 parts per million and then you're running this, you should still be fine. Me, I'm in Southern California. My water averages between 350 to 400 parts per million, and I don't think it'll filter it down. Now, this is the big boy, and I converted this so that it has 3 DI filters. So this one it's more resin, but the standard ones are usually 2 filters. I don't think that's gonna take it. But again, we will test the ability to filter the water as well. All right, guys, real quick, I did just test the water. Again, this is a 3-stage filter, and I just changed these filters. We're at 0 parts per million with this. I did just run the machine into the bucket, and we're coming in, I have it maxed out so it holds the highest rating, at 5 parts per million. Completely spot free still. And Anything up to about 20 will be spot free, but I'm afraid that it will blast through that those filters faster. Just something to keep in mind of. Those are rated for how many gallons are running through it. So you're using a 2 gallon per minute machine and use it for 10 minutes. That's 20 gallons versus this one, you're gonna be at 30 gallons. So you go through that resin faster. But good news is, at least with the 3 cartridge system, it did filter the water. So for the water test, we're just gonna stick the nozzle into the bucket as always. We're going to run it for 1 minute. That'll give us our gallons per minute rating. After that, I will weigh this out. I will subtract the weight of the bucket and we'll get an accurate number of how many gallons per minute we're getting. Another thing that could vary about this is how much power you're actually getting out of the wall. At my shop here, I get a pretty true 119, 120 volts out of my plugs. So I should get pretty accurate readings here to what they want, or what we want, what they listed. So we have timer and here we go. Again, guys, the machine's so nice and quiet. It's really great, really great. They upgraded this to a 4-pole motor from a 2-pole motor for the 2.3. More expensive, to be fair. All right, guys, there is 1 minute. Now, this is a 5-gallon bucket. It's filled more than halfway, so let's go ahead and weigh it. I will be right back and let you guys know where we're at. All right, guys, so here it is on the scale. Now, this bucket, as it sits without any water in it, weighs, what do I have it at? 34.3 ounces. This thing is coming in now at 430.6. I've never seen these numbers in the 400s, I don't think. Maybe with the AR, one of the AR machines that's really expensive and super nice. Maybe it was in the 400s, but that is a big number. All right, and the number we've all been waiting for, just weighed it out. We're coming in, again, this is fresh. The oil's probably not even fully through the thing and really being as efficient as it can. I'm at 2.97 gallons per minute. So rounding error there, it's basically 3 gallons per minute. Again, after it warms up, we're definitely gonna be above that, right at 3 or slightly above. So incredible numbers, yeah. 865 PSI, but I got it, it does not feel like it. 100% doesn't feel like, because there's so much flow coming through this thing, it's got so much kickback. That's another thing to note though, is while you're using this, I have force against my shoulder here. So it is a little more tiresome as well. Again, you may be able to be more efficient, so it's not a big deal, but just something to keep in mind. Now I am going to go ahead and switch this out to a steel braided hose. We'll test those numbers again just to make sure. In the past though, their ratings or their reasoning for only using a steel braided hose was for the total stop system, because with this one it's not steel braided, it's fiber braided. There's a little bit of expansion, and it would cause the total stop system to surge. It's not doing it right now. It may over time. Right now, no issue at all. It's beautiful, but we'll test it with a steel braided as well just to make sure. Now, before we get into the testing of the steel braided hose, I want to touch briefly on how this thing compares to the AR units, the AR630, the AR635, and the Kranzle units. The Kranzles utilize an induction motor and an axial pump. The Kranzles have always been amazing though, because you can change out the oil very, very easily with that, even though it's an axial pump. Versus the ARs utilize a triplex pump, very, very durable, fully rebuildable, easy to change the oil, all that kind of good stuff. The Active 2.3, they've been upgrading and they made it serviceable, but now they made this thing with a full-on oil drain plug, and so you can switch out the oil and everything really, really easily, even though it is an axial pump. So this one, I guess side by side, just looking at like induction motor, axial pump, things like that, this would be closer to what the Kranzles are, versus an AR is slightly different because it's an induction motor and a triplex pump. Triplex pumps are typically what are used in like the heavy industrial side of things, farming and things like that. So triplex pumps have been proven forever, but axial pumps are phenomenal as well. That's what I'm gonna be using on my unit also. They're phenomenal. It's a slightly different, instead of having plungers going through, axial pump does still have plungers, but also has a plate that rotates and pushes the water up like that way. So very, very cool. Again, super impressed with this thing so far. The numbers are fantastic. Let's go and switch over to a steel braided hose. So next up, I went ahead and disconnected the hose reel setup, and I attached the Active 5/16 steel braided hose. Now this is the 50-foot variant, and then I also have the 100-foot variant here that we'll be testing with as well, just to see if there's any difference. Now they also have a 75. I didn't bring that one, but we can assume if there's any difference, it would be right in the middle between those ones. So One thing to note is in order to hook up the active pressure washer hose, it's a male connection, quick connect on one side and a female connection on the other side. I need the female for my gun side. So in order to hook it up to the pressure washer, I did need to run a little adapter, which is right here. It's an M22 to a female quick connect, 3/8 size. So I will put that in the description for you guys so you can get that if you need it. All right, so let's go ahead again with the 50-foot active steel braided hose. Let's go ahead and test the PSI and the GPM. See if there's any difference. All right, so here we go. Again, same nozzle, everything like that. Here we go. That's very interesting. We're getting 845. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think we're getting 865 with the other hose. Again, though, this is another day. So this is just firing on now. We may need to let it warm up a little bit. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm also gonna check the amps for you guys. Okay, so I let the machine run for a little bit. We're still getting that 845, and we're just under, like, we're basically the exact same. I think we're at 17.5 amps or something like that. So it was, I think yesterday we were at 17.6, I believe. So basically the same. Now for the GPM test, here we go. All right, guys, and for the GPM test, we're getting the exact same numbers as we did with the other hose. We're at 2.97 gallons per minute. Next up, we're gonna switch over to the 100-foot hose. Now, opening up the brand new 100-foot hose, I totally forgot about this. You know how I mentioned that you need the adapter on the pressure washer. If you get one of their hoses, it comes with that adapter ready to roll. So if you have their hose, no worries, you will have that item, or if you're gonna order their hose, it should come with it. All right, guys, final PSI and GPM test, and then we'll move on to the foam cannon test. We have the 100-foot hose hooked up now, so we're gonna test that. So 100-foot hose, here we go for the PSI. So it's sort of settling right at 835, so we lost 10 PSI over that distance. Now, another thing to note is that if these are 5/16 hoses, mine was and this one is. If you go to a 3/8 hose that's slightly larger in diameter, and then you're gonna get less flow restriction. With a 1/4 inch hose, you get the most flow restriction, but it's the lightest weight, the easiest to work with. 3/8 you get the least amount, but it's super heavy. The 5/16 is a great in-between option. So let's go ahead and test the GPM now with the 100-foot hose. Okay, guys, so with the 100-foot hose, we also lost a little bit of GPM. We're down to 2.95. Still not a big deal, still phenomenal flow. Again, when I talked about flow restriction on the diameter of the hose, this, I guess, traveling that extra distance, you have that little bit of extra flow restriction there just from the distance. So it reduced it a little bit. Still absolutely amazing numbers though. Let's go ahead and test a foam cannon. So for this test, I'm going to be using my Quiver foam cannon here. I did replace it though with the included 1.65 orifice nozzle. So, or not nozzle, but orifice for the foam cannon. So on the Quiver foam cannon, it's super simple. You can just back this piece off. The orifice is sitting right inside there. I don't know if this will focus for you guys. Sorry about that. There you go. Sitting right inside there. You just back out the old one just with a flathead screwdriver, back it out, put the new one in, you're good to go. I'm also using 1 ounce of my Quiver Rogue soap. This is a high foaming soap regardless, so keep that in mind. Just off of my experience with these pressure washers, when they have this much flow and a lower PSI like this, we may struggle with foam. It may not be as thick as some other ones, so we'll test that right now. So here is my Mercedes Sprinter van. Here's the whole setup. Again, it's cranked all the way down to the right, so we're on the most foam production it can have. Yeah, very, very runny. I was expecting that. I'm running into this same kind of thing with my pressure washer that I'm developing because it's more high flow than PSI. Now, all you really have to do to rectify this is add a little bit of soap. So we're gonna add a little bit more and see what we got. All right, I just went ahead and added 1 more ounce of Quiver Rogue, so we are now at 2 ounces in the foam cannon, diluted up. So let's test that. All right, again, 2 ounces in the foam cannon. Much better. Still not nearly as thick as other times though, for sure. You know, typically, again, the higher PSI units will get more flow. It just aerates better. But this is totally acceptable. Maybe bump up a little bit more, or we may also, I actually disconnected my amp meter because I didn't want to leave it all out. Potentially a little bit smaller orifice, but again, this is the one that they recommend, the 1.65, so keep that in mind. But here is the foam production. Actually, real quick, let's test one more thing. Really quickly, I'm gonna go ahead and test my normal foam cannon setup that I have for my pressure washer. If I remember well, this has a 4.0. Don't hold that to home. Actually, let me see if it's listed. I can't remember. 1.45 orifice inside. So the one they give you is a 1.65. I have a 1.45 in this one. Maybe I'll trip a breaker. I don't know. I don't know how that's, again, I'm not testing the amps. I just want to show you the foam production if we reduce it more. Again, not necessarily recommended here at all because I don't know the amps. All right, guys, so 1.45 orifice in. Still not getting the most foam. Again, a little bit better. I think I only had like ½ ounce in this thing though. Let me add a little more. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take the solution out of the one that has the 1.65 orifice in it and pour it into the one with the 1.45. There we go. Let's test that. All right, guys, so my goal here is to get the foam to start stacking up on itself. Again, I don't know what the amps are rated running at right now, but let's see. Yeah, there we go. Now we're getting the thicker foam, for sure. That's what I wanted to see. That is what I wanted to see. So I'm gonna go ahead and foam this up, and then we're gonna do a rinse off as well, because that's really where this 3 gallons per minute should shine, is on rinse off. All right, guys, now I'm gonna go ahead and swap back over just to rinse this away. This is the 6.3 nozzle. And that's where this thing should really shine with this super high flow. It should shine in rinsing things away. It should be really, really efficient. So here we go for the rinse. Oh yeah, as you can see, just that much water flow, it's just pushing all the stuff off. Really rinsing everything away nice and quickly. I always have a ton of struggles with these where soap just keeps pouring out like that. I have to sit on them for quite a while usually. Let's see. Again, just because we're blasting so much material in there, or water in there, that really flushed out quickly. All right, guys, so overall ability of this unit with the foaming and the rinsing. The foaming, but I was expecting that really because it's such high flow. The rinsing, absolutely fantastic. Definitely faster than a 2 gallon per minute. Exceptionally faster? No, not in my opinion. It's something that I would have to really get used to and using and see how much time I could actually save. I don't have that ability in this video, but it did seem, marginally faster at least. It definitely did seem to rinse everything quicker, especially those tight spots. It kind of blasted all the soap. So all good there. Now, very last test, let's see if it'll fire on a generator. Now I'm running a power station in my truck and it is rated at 3,600 watt hours, I believe, or I can't remember. I'll look it up. So here is my Opus. This is the Mega 3. This is, I think it's, yeah, 3,600 watt continuous, 7,000 starting watts though. This starts the Big Boy Washer Pro 20. This starts the AR 630s, the new ones, the old ones, fantastic machine. So if it can't start on this, that's a big bummer, but I'm assuming it will be able to. I don't see any issue. 36%, we have all the power output though, no problem. We have the NEMA 20 plug as well, so we'll be good. We're gonna go ahead and switch it over to AC. I'm gonna plug it in. So here we go, plugged in. Now you do have to hit the red button and then it fires on green, okay? And then we're gonna see if it starts. I'm gonna turn it off, release the pressure, right? It's all primed and everything. Let's go ahead and see. It didn't start. Crap. It didn't start. We reset it. I'm gonna pull the trigger this time. Sometimes that helps. Pulling the trigger and then start. Nope, it's tripping it. So, man, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. All right, so real quickly, let's talk about that power. it's pretty standard. Like usually the recommended starting wattage for pressure washers is like 3 or 4 times whatever the unit's rated at. So that would put us into a position where this probably wouldn't start, and it didn't. The Active 2.3 I also had issues with. I haven't tested the new one without the frame on a generator, to be fair, but I did have issues with that one. I had issues with the original Big Boy Washer Pro. The new Washer Pro 20, no issues, starts right up. The AR start right up, all good. So it is a little bit of unfortunate because I was gonna say this could be a real game changer. At 800 bucks, I don't think that there's man, I don't know if there's a better value pressure washer. If you need those requirements, nice and quiet, right? 4-pole motor, fully, you can change the oil, refill it, all that kind of stuff, super easy. 3 gallons per minute is what we're getting at 800, and we'll call it 850 on average. And the amount of flow is insane. So 800 bucks, if you take a look at that compared to the competition in that market, which would be the AR 635 or some of the other AR units or some of the Kranzle units, this is an absolute like fraction of the price. Really, really amazing. It's also one of the best looking units I've ever seen. It's really, really pretty. The only downside for me across this whole thing is the NEMA 20 plug, but again, that's reasonable. It's a good idea that they did that, really, because otherwise people could plug it in their 15 amps not knowing, and then they're gonna be popping breakers all the time. So I get that. But the biggest thing to me is that it didn't start on the generator. You would need a bigger generator, and that's fair enough, right? You just have to get a bigger generator. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Overall recommendation, yep, fantastic unit. They killed it. I think they did a great job. Incredible performance, incredible looking machine. Great job to the whole team over at Active. Absolutely incredible. That is it for today's video, though. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to use code I'mJoshV10 or for 10% off for the next like 2 weeks. After that, you can use my other code. I'll link it down in the description for you, and it'll still save you 5% off. So hope that helps. Make sure to like the video, make sure you subscribe or turn on that notification bell, and we will see you guys on the next one.